I like your hat, Tom.
It's very nice, isn't it? Which one though?
Well, obviously the party hat's nice.
I feel like these have run their course. Like, for those of you that have noticed, although we're on, if you're watching, by the way.
Yeah. If you're watching our lovely 3-camera setup, Tom's now struggling himself.
I've got stuck in my new hat. That obviously we are in different clothes now, so we are recording part 2 on a different day.
Yeah.
The time massively ran away with us. We were blown away by the amount of messages that we got, and so we definitely wanted to do them justice,
yes,
and not just rush them at the end of a really massive catch-up episode. So
yeah, we got a lot of voice messages from people.
We
absolutely loved it, and we were like, we don't want to just squeeze this in at the end of an episode, so we thought we'd dedicate an episode to it. And even though we're calling it part 2, obviously it is its own episode. We're just branding it part 2. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving the questions. I'm really looking forward to going through it. But yeah, we also got these Wedding Capture Co. hats, which are pretty cool. Yeah. Maybe one day you'll be able to buy them, but for now they're...
Tell us, because obviously if we were to sell them, we would need to do a minimum run in order to make it worth it. But if you would like to be part of the Capture Co. and have a Capture Co. hat, there is, I'm going to show you the camera, that thing where you put the hand behind it like a vlogger. So I'm going to go to my camera.
It'll only focus on my face.
So there is a blue, which is in our blue colours, and then Chris has the other way, which is the tan option, with the blue type. Party hat not included.
Yeah, that's not
yeah, party hat not included. And they're there, so if people want them, let us know, and we could maybe do a run. We could start a merch army of people in Wedding Capture Co. hats.
They're actually really cool. Like the blue one's proper on brand. Like actually, we wore it to Arundel Castle the other day, just casual, because no one knows what it is. So it's just a cool looking hat. Like,
what, you mean no one came running up to you? Like, oh my god, you're Chris from the podcast. Yeah.
Sadly not. I was really hoping there'd be somebody, but who knows, one day. But yeah, so obviously this episode is going to be all about going through your voice notes that you left us. So firstly, thank you very much for sending those over. But first, we have something like quite big to announce, don't we? Really?
We do, yeah. Which I think is mainly timely because it hadn't actually all come together, had it? By the time that we finished recording part 1, it was kind of on the table, but wasn't confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. So we weren't sure when to sort of start releasing information about it. But yeah, obviously this break we've taken, we've been talking about how we want to take the podcast to the next level, and part of that is going to be partnering with other brands who we've used before, and we think are going to benefit you guys. And the first of those happens to be a wedding video editing company called brideandgroom.video.
Yes.
So now we've partnered with them to offer you a discount code to get into your wedding video editing. And essentially, when we started this podcast, we were kind of like a little bit hesitant to do things like this, weren't we? Because we wanted it to be legit, we wanted it to be natural, and we didn't want to go and sell things just for the sake of, we were influencers, we've got the platform to do it. But brideandgroom.video are people that I've actually used myself. We've recently done that episode of Adam Wing, which you'll hear in the next episode. Yeah. And we were chatting about, getting your videos edited and how it can be a bit of a taboo subject, right? Or people might think that, they don't want to let go of their films and things like that. But we talk a lot about work-life balance, and I think it can be really, really worth it to have someone who you can send your edits to. It doesn't have to be all your edits.
No.
It can just be the ones, if your films are particularly repeatable, or you're extremely busy and you've got a backlog, you can pick some of the ones that might not end up on your portfolio, or perhaps you're not going to try new things with, and send them off to brideandgroom.video.
And I think as well, the thing that we said, so we met Serge, didn't we? Obviously, I know you used them in the past. So when we were up in Scotland for the summit, Serge, who actually is like the face of the company, is kind of a big deal there. He came and spoke to us, and then obviously I heard his talk on the day. I was really pleased to say that they also do our often photo editing as well.
Yes.
So that is something that's coming. Being able to meet someone, I think, in person, like you said, we always wanted to remain authentic, be services that we've used, services that we can stand behind. But mainly, I think as well, is if you're having troubles with kind of swallowing that AI pill of, I don't want a robot to edit my films, or I don't want this, the fact that you kind of hook up with them with an account manager, there's a really detailed questionnaire process, so they kind of understand you and your films as much as they can when they onboard you. Yeah. Is that it's almost like you are just hiring a member of staff to your team to edit your film. Yeah. And if that's the way that you want to rephrase that to your clients, it's not, I'm getting someone else to edit it. It's, I've got this person from here taking care of your film. Yeah. Or you don't even have to tell them at all. But
it's a white label service, so you don't need to tell your clients that that it's been edited by a third party. They take reference videos, and I'm sure reference photos as well, so that they know sort of your editing style and can replicate that. And from experience, they do that really, really well. From my experience in using editors, I've had various experiences. Some will get it done extremely quickly and it'll be back to you, and you've got to do some work to it. Some will get it back like it takes a while to get it back, and perhaps you can't go back and do changes and things like that to it. So these guys, when I've had them edit my films, it's come back 99% done. I have a lot that I pretty much put on top of it anyway, and they put that on it. They've done all of the audio for me, all the stories laid out, the B-roll is laid out. I've literally gone through and like maybe added a shot that I know is important to them, but perhaps I'd missed out in the questionnaire or the editors weren't sure about. But it comes back to you with the project file.
That's the other thing, the big things. And also they will find an editor for the software that you use. So if you are someone like Chris who's a Resolve user, they will hook you up with an editor that uses Resolve. Or if you are a Premiere Pro user, it's not as if you're going to have to change formats just to use their service.
Yeah.
And for me, I think if I edited video, being able, like I say, to be given not just a finished film back, but then if there was one thing you wanted to change, you'd have to pull it apart yourselves.
Yeah.
To be given that working file back.
Yeah.
And also selfishly, I think after speaking to Hannah, like if I was knowing as little as I do about film editing, if I wanted to get into hybrid and the making of the video bit was okay, but I maybe didn't have the skills to edit it, to have a leg up with that or someone to help me with that process and I give them the footage, that would be really, really handy.
Definitely. How many photographers are out there thinking about getting into video, and you already know how to use a camera, how to frame it up. All you've got to do is like learn some of the video settings on your camera, which most of you probably know already. Yeah. But then you're probably looking at editing software like, whoa, this seems intense, right? Why not just start your hybrid journey with having it edited for you? I'm not saying don't go learning and editing software so you're able to do it yourself. But they are able to do the shorter films. So if you're offering like a 4 to 5 minute highlight on top of your photography and you've not got the time to start learning DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro or whatever it is, if you get into these guys straight away, you already know that's part of your money going towards that. Yeah. So if you're charging like 800 quid a grand for your hybrid, for your video on top of your photography, and you're paying a couple of hundred quid to brideandgroom.video, then you've still made the profit and you haven't had to learn like a whole new skill to do so. Yeah,
I think for hybrid users, it's become an absolute no-brainer, because I know for me that it's the edit part which terrifies me the most.
Yeah.
And then almost, if I wanted to slowly kind of through quieter times or off season start to slowly learn the software, to then be able to load up one of the projects they've given back to me and kind of say, oh, that's how they put that together as well. Kind of there's a learning process. It's a relationship building, isn't there? Which I think is the reason that obviously that we were really happy to accept the partnership with them.
Yeah.
And obviously we want to grow with them, with us, as much as obviously offering you guys a deal so that you can start that if that's something that you want to do.
Yep. So it's £75 off. We'll put the link in the description. £75 off for your first project with them. Again, someone that I've used before. When I got my first film back from them, by the way, I was like, this is better than I could have edited. Because it's one of those. I sent them and I was like, I'm probably not going to not enjoy it, but it's just it's just like venue like a shootout a lot and stuff like that. And they came back and I was like, that is actually really, and I felt so much more connected to that video because I hadn't had to spend like the 2 to 3 days slogging away at trying to get that done. So that was a really nice feeling for me. So now we're partnered with them. You get £75 off your first edit, but link in the description. You'll get linked up with a project manager. There's a little price slider that you can mess around with depending on the length of your films, and whether you want the ceremony and whether you want the speeches. So it really is very open in terms of the pricing strategy. And in my opinion, I work this out quite a lot at the beginning of each year. I think about how many weddings do I want to edit that year, or how many weddings do I want to send to an editor that year? And then I work out how much that's going to cost, right? So for example, if I want to get 5 weddings edited that year, that I probably only need to take 1 extra wedding in order to pay for all that. And that saved me, it's obviously different for everyone, but let's say that the long films take me like 2 days, maybe 3 days, right? It can depending on as Adam said, like sometimes it'll take a day, sometimes it'll take a week.
Yeah, and you don't know whether that wedding's got a really clear hook or it hasn't, or sometimes they do just come together because you're kind of in a flow state, or other days you kind of do have a kind of a creative block and it can take a lot longer, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. But if I think, that saved me, a week of work, maybe even 2 weeks of work, and of what all I've had to do is take on one day of work, one wedding day, and that gets edited. It's like, that's well worth it in terms of your work-life balance.
Yeah, and even more so than that, I think it just becomes a simple kind of time versus money equation.
Yeah.
Where if you're saying that you get into the heights of summer, the backlog piles up, that causes you to kind of get burnout or mentally spiral, or you get no time to even start to get back to the inquiries that are coming in, do any marketing or any of that. Like, even if that saved you 3 days, you take 1 day off and spend the other 2 doing bits of your business that you don't get time to get to because you're consumed with editing.
Yeah.
Then you're not only leveling up in that sense that you're getting your films back to your couples faster, but you're also having a chance to build and grow your business in the time that you're saving.
In the background, 100%. Yeah.
So again, really, really excited to kind of, I feel that we've, even now on episode 50, we're kind of saying that we're leveling up, we're turning a corner to get kind of our first partnership on board is a really big deal. Yeah.
It is. And this is the last time we'll do like one massive chunk talking about it. We're going to have obviously little bits within our episodes to remind you and new listeners of the deal that we've got for them. But we just wanted to talk about it in a bit more detail in this episode so that you know the story behind why it's going to be them and not just, they're not just a random company that we've emailed and hope for the best that we'd get a partnership with. There's someone that, I've used and we've actually met and had a chance to speak to Serge, who runs the place and sort of actually have a genuine relationship with them.
And that's huge. I think going forward, I say we 100% don't want to turn into a podcast where there's just a few snippets of conversation amongst all the ads and the sponsors. We still kind of want to keep us grounded to the rest of you as we are, but at the same time, for us to allow the podcast to grow and obviously to give you kind of the best that we can.
Yep.
These things, these opportunities present themselves. I think it's a sensible thing all round, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, now
let's get into the voice notes.
Let's get into, again, I know I've probably said it enough and sound like a stuck record, but I was always really tentative that when we said it at the end of a couple of episodes ago that we were going to do this and we would like to get stuff in.
Yeah.
There was still that on a low key terror of what if nobody replies?
Is anyone going to actually reply?
What if I have to ring my mum and go, Mum, can you say nice things about me and pretend you're a videographer? But it didn't. There was we had in the end have had a pretty solid list of people from both sides, haven't we? From both photo and video, people kind of listen and a range of just well wishes, questions, and the rest of it. So I think we kind of work our way down the list, and then we'll just kind of answer as freely as we can, and hopefully it won't take too long because I think there are some questions in there which could easily become whole episodes.
They could,
and maybe will become whole episodes in themselves.
Yeah, I've already listened to a few, and I was just telling you before we started recording, I want to do this as a full episode. That I want to really dive into this. But I wasn't ignoring you then. I was just looking through. So I've saved each one basically. I've recorded it as a screen recording and then put it into a gallery.
Nice. So we'll hook them up. So when you guys hear it, you'll hear that seamless audio coming out as us. But obviously we need to hear it now so that we can respond to it.
Does anyone really hate the new Photos app? I say it's not new anymore, but it's really annoying. Don't like it, really frustrating. Trying to find your albums and it's just you have to scroll through the people and the pets and everything just to get to your albums and it's really frustrating. So
who's first?
So our first one, just by chance, is Jason from That Wedding Videographer podcast. So
there we go.
Let's have a listen to this one.
Congratulations on episode number 50 to the both of you. It's a massive undertaking. That's a lot of hours recording, editing, and providing content for people that is so invaluable to the industry, especially today, in this climate that we're in. I'm so happy to see that the UK is really stepping up and providing so much content for people, just giving advice, sharing ideas, and ultimately just leveling everyone up. I love it. I love it for our wee island we call home. Also, thank you so much for coming to the summit. It was great to see both of you. And
Thanks for having us.
I think everyone had a great day. I was so busy just running around, making sure people were enjoying themselves, things were working as they should. A live event is not something that we've ever done before. And a lot of lessons to be learned. So basically we get all the joy of seeing everyone else just diving in, getting stuck in. I mean, that event was really, you got back what you put in. And to have everyone really get stuck in was great. A question that I saw on our Discord server that I'm not sure if it got answered because I was dealing with something through the back was, what would you do if you had to start all over again? And I think it's something that everyone has an answer to because everyone's made mistakes along the way. And everyone if they could go back, would probably do something different. So that's my question to you both. What would you do differently if you could start all over again?
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we obviously spoke about the summit a lot in depth in the last episode, but thanks for having us. We really enjoyed it. We took a lot away from it, and we chat about it with Adam again in our next episode. A bit of a spoiler, but yeah.
But even again, like there was, before we actually get into the question, there's something that Jason said in that about kind of you do get what you give out of it, and I feel that even though that I am, one half of this sat behind the microphone here, that I have taken as much knowledge from you and the process of doing this podcast has hopefully I have returned to the people, you guys that listen, and hopefully that you have got from our ramblings or conversations or whatever, is so that it is not, it's not entirely kind of transactional with that we're just standing here spouting what we believe, is that by having these conversations, and I know we covered this in the last part, so I don't dwell on too much, is that I've definitely taken a lot from this podcast, as much, which more than makes it worth the time that we give to make it happen.
Yeah, we've not just learnt from each other, we've learnt from you guys as well. And like you say, we're not just spouting information at you. This has been really helpful to us. So we'd quite like it we'd quite like it to come across as like a community podcast, right? It's the idea is that you guys are at the end of the table with us and joining in the discussion. And it's always been that. And we've always taken, feedback on board and really enjoyed your messages. If you come to us and say, love the pod, been listening for however long, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it feels more than ever now like there's a group of us here all chatting, especially now there's a group of cameras.
Yeah, and also the fact as well that we've got so many messages back. It doesn't feel so much that we're shouting into the ether. There are genuinely people that ask us stuff, and you go, oh yeah, people do actually listen.
Yeah, there are other voices on this episode. Like it's crazy.
So I think with that in mind, then, do you want to answer Jason's question first? What would you do if you were starting Spice Wedding Films all over again?
So I'm quite open about this. I think my biggest mistake was being stubborn and not investing in education.
Okay.
And it's easy for us to sit here and say that, given that like people would maybe see us as educators a little bit. But what I think was the problem was that I thought I could do it all myself and learn it all myself. I don't need to pay, £500 for a course. I can just get on YouTube and learn everything I need through there. I think if I had invested early days in education, and even maybe second shot for some people and reached out and tried to get like help from other people and tried to like get integrated into the community early days, I guess it's the only I'd know a lot more, a lot quicker. I'll be charging what I am now a lot sooner in the process. And I think I was just too stubborn. I didn't want to spend the money on it. And in a way, I think, some of the people I met really early on in the process were kind of like anti-wedding industry. It's kind of like, you don't want to get into the industry like drama and whatever. Just stay out of that. Do your own thing and you don't need to talk to anyone else. And it's like, oh right, is it a bit like that? Is it?
Yeah.
But it's not. And yeah, so if I start again, the first thing I'll do is buy a course and then start messaging people and ask the second shoot. So I learned everything quicker, made the mistakes quicker, and could grow a lot faster than I have.
Amazing.
Up until this
that's
point.
really good. I think mine sometimes similar. Like I had never second shot when I started doing weddings, and I think I was more. I'd been a couple of years maybe into my full time before I second shot for anyone.
Yeah.
So I think if from the beginning, I would have probably reached out again. So like when I shot my first wedding, I'd never been to a wedding apart from like a 6-year-old.
Same.
So I think even just. Not so much even the camera dynamics of just seeing how the mechanics or how a photographer fits into the day, I would have kind of maybe again made those learnings quicker just from being at weddings.
Yeah.
And I think actually some actual wedding day experience is just as vital as actual camera knowledge and stuff. So I definitely would have second shot earlier on. And I think the biggest thing for me as well is that I had the year that I started my company was 2015. And I had a good amount of weddings that year and I could have left my job, but I didn't. I waited then another 2 years to actually fully leave in 2017 and go like all in. I wish I jumped in 2015 now when I had that.
Yeah.
I've got enough work. I could make this work, but it's going to be tight. I wish that I'd have done the brave thing, leapt, and that hunger and desire to have to make it work would have probably pushed me on, because I feel that when that happened in 2017, I look back and go, with these 2 years or that year or two that I spent trying to juggle both, I couldn't put all of myself into either.
Yeah.
And so I think at that time then, it's like if you get to a point where you know that your absolute basics are covered, you're not going to be kicked out of your house or anything like that, you can go without the rest. And the desire not to go without it is what will push you down the road.
Yeah.
Is that, I wish I'd just been braver and jumped.
You didn't make that leap quick enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And as soon as I leapt and it was okay, I'm like, okay, I wish I'd done this sooner.
Yeah.
And that was fairly instant. I was like, so like now I've got time in the day to go to get to this thing or to do that task. My business grew because I had time to spend on it.
Yeah.
And so I think if you are still managing that day job, but you're not loving it and you're trying to make this work, it's like, get to the point where you are at the minimum that you can do to make it work and go.
Yeah. It's pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
I worked out how much I earn at my retail job, and was like, the moment that I'm even close to this for my projected income for the year, I'm out basically.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And to an extent that you kind of need some savings as a backup to like give you the confidence to raise your prices and things like that.
Yeah.
But I went in with absolutely no savings, and I know that I would have raised my prices quicker if I had the savings behind me to as a backup. But I think that's really good.
Yeah, so hopefully some people will say maybe at the beginning to their journey that listen to this, or that's resonated with some of you guys, and hopefully that will help you. But don't come to me asking for money if it doesn't work out.
Tom, I quit my job. You told me to quit.
Yeah, you told me to do it, man.
Yeah. So next one is from Hannah McGregor, who we recently had on the podcast in January. And that is actually a really good episode. If you haven't listened to it, it is all about hybrid shooting. She's obviously a sort of pioneer for hybrid shooting in our industry at the moment. And we had a really interesting chat with her, and it's become one of our most popular episodes, because obviously hybrid shooting is a big thing.
And it's nothing to do with the fact that we weren't here and we were at Cozy Club at all. It's just the way it happened. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Let's see what she's going to say. Yeah.
Hi guys, it's Hannah here from Hannah McGregor Photo and Film. I loved coming to speak to you guys for my episode of the podcast to come and talk all things hybrid. I've loved listening to all of the past episodes too, and learning some real interesting facts about how you guys work and how you as a photographer and videographer enjoy and don't enjoy working with other videographers and photographers too. It's a really fascinating insight into the industry and how you guys take on the work and do the brilliant job that you do. My question, if I'm allowed to ask, is do you have a favourite episode? Is there one that really stands out in your mind as being the most kind of instrumental, or that got, I don't know, the most interest on Instagram, or the most questions, or most maybe controversial? Really interested to know. Well done for keeping the podcast going, and hopefully we'll catch up soon. All right, take care guys. Bye.
Yeah, funny enough, I think what she's just said there actually relates to my favourite episode.
Really?
When she's talking about obviously how we target photographers and videographers, right? My favourite episode, or two episodes as it was, in fact, was when we did like photographers versus videographers, I think we called it, where essentially what we did is ask each other questions on why we do certain things in a certain ways on the day. Does this annoy you? Why does this annoy you? And things like that. And I think it's something that we'd quite like to do again, because now we've got like a bigger audience and more people are listening, and there's more of a mix of us now, photo and video, and I think it'd be really cool to do that again. But essentially, like, I learned a lot from what you would like wish that like videographers had done, or even what you didn't understand about what videography was, or videographers had the responsibility to do. And I'm assuming the same, the opposite way around.
Definitely. I think those pair of episodes that we did, I think the learnings for us in that, or kind of that dispelling myths, I think that, and again, I know that obviously in hindsight, because you'll hear it next time, is that obviously we did the episode with Adam, and we say something about that in there, don't we? Where there's sometimes that lack of communication on a day, because you assume you know what the photographer wants, or you know what the videographer wants, where we kind of broke it all down in those episodes. And actually I was really surprised with some of the answers that you gave as well. So even like go back and listen to those. They are really
cool episodes. Yeah, early days for us, but it was
and I think for me, if you've picked two episodes, I'm going to be indulgent and pick two. And the funniest thing is, I hadn't heard this voice note before, so I'm literally doing this off of the spot. I haven't had a chance to look back through the list.
Yeah, I cheated. Sorry.
And the ones that always come back to me, I think the first one's a bit of a cop out, is the first episode, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I listened, because we repeated that topic, didn't we, at the start of the year about preparing for your season?
Yes, we did, yeah.
I listened back to episode 1, so again, almost 2 years ago, and as an episode, there's so much room for improvement in it, but to listen to it 2 years down the line and see the growth in it, I'm just glad that we started. So the first one, I think, will always kind of be fond. Although it's probably riddled with mistakes, different microphones, different setup, and the rest of it, I'm glad that it happened because it's allowed what's to come going forward.
Right? Yeah, we started.
And then for me, I think the other one might be episode number 5 or 6. And it is the episode that we recorded literally the day after I got back from New York.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever come back from a holiday or a trip so sort of inspired.
Yeah.
And some of the nuggets that are in that about talking about finding inspiration in anything other than actually the job that you do, going to galleries, walking around a new city and stuff. If you're at this point of the season where you're struggling to kind of, or stuck in a funk with the work that you make or whatever, I think there's something about that episode which hopefully will give you some ideas or encouragement to go back and just get inspired by the simplest of creative endeavours. That it don't just get caught up in wedding all the time.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff in there which that episode, I don't know why, and it might, if you go back, it might be very different to how I remember it. But there's something about that episode just being about inspiration, which I still think is kind of it was just a really special one.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's maybe one we could revisit as well, because
for sure.
Even then, I think that was like pretty much 2 years ago now. Even then, I don't think that there was a lot outside of the wedding industry that changed my work inside of it, because again, like, I started off more of a business person than a artist or a creative or whatever. But now I think, having spoken to you quite a bit, there's more things now that I could think of that do influence me outside.
Or probably
of that,
more than you realise as well. In the amount of like TV and film that you watch and other things like that, I think some of that stuff must creep in somewhere. And that's, I think, it'd be interesting to revisit that one with kind of some thought behind it and kind of us pick out some sources. That would be fun. So.
There we go. So next 50 episodes is going to be the same 50 episodes repeated again.
It's like, Wedding Capture Co-Inception. We can stop here and rewind and go all the way back to the beginning again.
All right, so this next one is from Becky from Thompson Wedding Films.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I met Becky for the first time up at the Summit as well.
The Summit,
And then I met her lovely other half as well, who is another one of our non-camera operating listeners.
Non-photography or videography listeners, he's a big listener of the podcast, and we love them. We ended up walking home with them, didn't we? Had a good chat, and they're really cool. I think like Becky's style is very similar to mine. We have very similar views on things. I actually met her at Coda, and we got on really well, and I'm glad that they listened. So
it's nice to have one. Yeah, see what she's got to say.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris and Tom. Congratulations, 50 pods. That's amazing. It's one thing to start something like this up, to have the confidence to put it out there, but it's another to keep it up that regularly, and to do 50 episodes. That's incredible. Well done, guys. I hope that you keep at it, and it's we can listen to them for years to come. I've enjoyed listening to it from the beginning. You guys are so easy to listen to. Great to have on in the background during editing and on the way to weddings. And the questions that you pose are always really relevant, whether it is setting goals for the new year or when we're all struggling with inquiries, ideas about what we can do to improve on that, and just providing that support that everyone is in the same boat. And then when we hit that busy time and all our backlogs are really, really big, you're there to give us some tips on editing hacks and things. So it's always hits the nail on the head really well. You're doing a fantastic job. It was really nice to catch up with you guys at that Wedding Videographer Summit this week in Glasgow. I think it was the hottest day in Glasgow on record, which is not an official stat, but I don't think the boys could ever have thought that we were going to have such a lovely day. So it was nice to get out in the sun in between talks and things and catch up with everyone. It's always just great to have social, to be able to kind of get together with all those people that I know online and see their faces is just something really special. And the speakers did a fantastic job. It's great that it was right at the beginning of the season. So we can go into the season feeling really inspired with brand new ideas. I know I've been putting loads of things into action, going and renaming all my YouTube videos and getting some a good kind of schedule for Instagram and things. So there were some really brilliant ideas there to discuss, and it's just so much fun getting together with everybody. And it was lovely to have a little bit of a trip and a couple of days away from the office. Quite far to go though. It would be handy if somebody might set up something like that a little bit closer to home.
It does seem like it.
If only there was a podcast that was being run really locally to me. So my question to you is really for your other halves. I'm dying to know if they're going to come on the pod. Tell us what it's like to be married to big time wedding supplier podcasters. Do they listen to the pod? Do they ever pull you up on something that you've said on it that they don't quite agree with? Yeah, that would be really cool to have them on. I know you've had a few guests. I think they were some really good guests. So yeah, can't wait to listen to the 50th episode. Good luck with it all. Keep at it. It's really enjoyable to listen to you both. You're fantastic at it. So bye.
Amazing. What a long message as well. Like, I think it's really blown me away that how much people actually wanted to give. Like, it's not just been like a couple of sentences or just a question with nothing else. Like, it really shows that people do actually kind of really listen and engage and genuinely take stuff away from it. So, yeah, that's mad. So, thank you very much, Becky.
I was just thinking about the video version of this episode. It's going to be us staring at a phone for
a while, yeah. Maybe I'm going to have to make little, like, I'm going to have to find a picture of everybody that sent us a message and then do, like, a little, like, ident to come up on the screen and then you could do a little waveform thing that moves.
In 2 days?
Yeah, why not?
No, thank you for the message. Obviously, like, we really appreciate you listening, and just to get comments like that is absolutely lovely. While we're not going to be doing a summit anytime soon.
Hell no. Yeah.
And we did a couple of workshops last year, and while we liked the format of it, we that's something we're going to leave behind. But we have spoken about doing other smaller things, I think.
Yeah, events themselves are not off the table. I think it's the format of what we did in the end. Whilst people got good value from it, I think for us it ended up being like, I know just how exhausted we were or the way that it was delivered. I think there's probably learnings to be had, isn't there? So
yeah, we put everything into it. I think a lot of people came out very, very happy with it, which is all we can ask for. And yeah, we just can't see ourselves creating something like Coda or the Summit anytime soon. I don't think we particularly need it. Maybe down south we do. Yeah. But there are definitely things that we've spoken about that we might start planning soon. Watch this space. Yeah, exactly. And in terms of your question, Wives of the Capture Co is definitely something that we've spoken about doing before.
I think it was on the original. So we have a note, or we have a series of notes that we share between us for on a list of ideas of episodes, our show notes and whatever. And there is, I think, on that original list that we made of like 20 or 30 things, that we always joked, didn't we, that there should be an episode where we get Ro and Kate on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure either of us need to be present for it because I don't really want to know what they want to say about me. Yeah. But I think that it'd be an interesting thing, or even to have them on and them discuss, or even just anyone's partner. Obviously, with Becky, obviously, let's say we met her other half at the thing, and being married to a wedding supplier, I think probably is incredibly tough. Yeah. But I know the days that Rowick experiences my ramblings on the lows when I have days where I think, I'm gonna have to go and get a real job. I haven't got any inquiries, and then like the elation when a dream inquiry comes through. I've spoken to these people and they're so amazing. Or I'll come home from a wedding and have that. Like she really does kind of ride the wave with me.
The ups and downs of.
But I think that's probably the same as anybody that is the partner of somebody that runs any sort of their own business or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, if we could find time and they were up for it, obviously the fact that we've kind of holidayed together and they know each other and are friends as well, I feel that they maybe might have a little bit of banter like we do. Yeah. So there could be a fun episode to be had in it, I think, if we could get them both to do it.
Definitely. And they're really involved as well. Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if either of them listen, but I know that Ro's upstairs most of the time when we're recording, so he's probably forced to listen a little bit. Ro also came up, I think, with the name of the podcast.
Yeah, she helped. I think one of them came up. Came up with it, or kind of confirmed the idea.
Kate's been pushing the hats for a while as well, and was wearing the hat proudly around in public the other day. So she's representing.
Brand ambassador, Kate's Vice.
And obviously they're the people who, we go home when we try and make a decision on whether it's a workshop or a partnership or a sponsorship or whatever it is that we're trying to do at that point in time. They're the people who we go and we chat to often together, and we sort of because we meet up outside of all of this as well as friends, don't we, with our wives, and go on holiday and things like that. So there's always these discussions to be had, and we couldn't do what we do without their support behind us.
Definitely not. I think that's it. Is as much as that we have the time that we spend doing this, there's no kind of saying that this does take time. Yeah. Time that obviously potentially we don't. We've put ourselves up to doing this, and it does mean that there is a cost for that sometimes. But both of them are have both been nothing but supportive of us, and if anything, have kind of helped drive it forward as much as we have. So big shout out to Ro and Kate.
Shout out to Ro and Kate. Yeah. All right, next one.
Amazing. Who we got next?
All right. So the next one is Nigel from I Do Wedding Films.
Okay.
Hi, Chris and Tom. It's Nigel here from I Do Wedding Films. I just wanted to
He talks as fast as me.
I think I sped him up. I was playing him at two times speed.
That's how I normally talk.
Sorry, Nigel.
Hi, Chris and Tom. It's Nigel here from I Do Wedding Films. I just wanted to jump on and say a huge congratulations on hitting episode 50. That's such a huge milestone. You should be really proud of it. So I've been listening to you guys for quite a while now, and I've really loved the content. It's full of useful info for, both videographers and photographers, but also still really relaxed and easy to listen to. What I really love is how relatable you both are. The topics you cover, that it's real and it's honest stuff that's interesting and helpful. And it's just been fantastic. I always look forward to your episodes coming out. There's a brilliant UK podcast community, I think, built at the minute. So you got you guys, you got Rue with the Coda podcast, obviously Danny and Jace with That Wedding Videographer podcast, and Adam Wing. It's great to have so much valuable content out there, and it's a really good community you're building too. So I love that. Anyway, so just wanted to say massive thanks. The pod's been a huge hit with me, and I'm sure loads of others feel the same. Big respect to you both. And here's to the next 50. Cheers, guys.
Amen to that, Nige. Yeah,
I love that.
50.
Yeah. The podcast community, I mean, he's right. Like, it's more than ever. There's so much for us now to, obviously referring to videographers, but there's so much for us now to go to and listen to. And I'm pretty much daily, I'm listening to a videography podcast these days because there are lots, and that's nice to have. And in terms of being relatable as well, a lot of people have said this to me recently. I don't know about you, but like they come up to say, I listen to it because it's relatable. It's not, you guys are not charging like $6-7 grand, and not that like those people couldn't make a podcast, but we're in a market where I think the majority of people in our industry are in our market and charging what we charge, and so most of what we say is relatable to the majority of photographers and videographers.
Or even if they're just below what we charge, hopefully we've shown that we've had that journey. And I think I'm definitely not at that high level, but to get to where I am, I've shot weddings, and I know that you have as well, starting at the kind of those real kind of basic venues, again shooting weddings for a few £100s, and have worked my way up every rung of that ladder to get to here. So even if you maybe kind of only just starting out and you're struggling to see how that journey looks, is that hopefully, because we're providing relatable content and showing that it is possible, that we've put in the work and leveling up and doing all the things that hopefully that we kind of talk about. That there is, it makes a much more easier journey to get there. It doesn't seem as kind of impossible.
Daunting,
for sure.
Agreed. Amazing. Cheers for the message, Nigel.
Yeah, good one, Nigel.
Next one is from our good friend Sean.
Ooh.
Hey guys, hope all is well. Big congrats again with the podcast. The question I have for you is, what are the big changes that you see in the wedding videographer and photographer space in like 5 years' time, excluding the obvious answer, which is AI? Also, what are the plans for where you're hosting the big party for when you get to 100 episodes? All right, much love. Bye.
Our plans for 100 episodes are to get SY Films on as a guest.
For me, the goal is to get there first. But a party at episode 100, or a big thing where we could, again, to get these many voice notes in from people, if we could host a big bash and kind of get all those people in a room, not even for education, but just for a social, that would be a cool thing for me.
Just a big podcast with, rather than just having the voice notes, literally everyone here.
Or even if we did a live episode and had some people in, and just so we had an excuse to kind of rent a space and have a party before or after.
That'd be good.
That'd be good.
In terms of where the industry is in 5 years' time, that's definitely a full episode. But if I was to try and summarize my thoughts on it in terms of what's happening right now, it is most photographers will be doing both, or a photo and video, or will have found a way to offer both, whether that's recommending a videographer, having a videographer who does it basically under their brand. And that's going to be, hybrid's going to be big in 5 years' time. I think videographers are going to be expected to do something, but what I think will happen is somewhere down the line, this is a bold prediction probably, but somewhere down the line, videographers and content creators merge.
I agree with that.
In a way that content creators will be offering more polished services like drone and shots of your full ceremony and your full speeches and things like that. And videographers will be offering more content related services. So you could almost go to a content creator and get your videography, or you could go to a videographer and get your content creation. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that I definitely agree with. I think the lines. I think we're at the very beginning of some big changes in our industry, and a lot of these people are popping up by themselves at the moment, and I'm going to see, I think there's a lot of people that are going to do that thing where, say, photographers are starting to offer hybrid, videographers are going to start offering content creation, content creators are going to realise that in order they could charge more money if they leveled up with their video.
Buy a camera.
But then I also think on the photo edge at the moment is that the rise of film photography and legacy and stuff, in particularly this year, is rising fast. Okay. And I think that you're going to see other things like little pockets form off where you're going to get a wave of editorial will kind of blend into fine art, and then you're going to get a wave or a school of photographers which are exclusively shooting film at weddings. That's what I think. There's going to become a pool of those people and people that are actively looking for that entirely analog thing, and almost repelling the idea of content and drone and all of that. And then there's going to be another wave of people that embrace all of it and whatever else can come in the future. And I think the fact that you've mentioned AI, we have an episode on AI already, and we're going to do another. But I would be really interested to see how that works out, knowing that in the end, is AI going to self-pollute in the end, that it's only learning from itself and it hasn't got a place in our industry? Who knows? But 5 years is a long time. That's longer than some people have even been in. I think weddings are going to look very different in 5 years' time. And whatever it is, I think people either just need to be ready to respond to that or be embracing of something new and never resting on their laurels.
Yeah, a lot of things will change, like you say, about weddings, about the couples that are booking us, and what I'm worried about is where we are right now is that the majority of people in our market are making pretty much the same work. So there's only a certain amount of time where that continues before couples go, all these wedding films are like that. This looks the same as my sister's wedding film or whatever by a different videographer, and people start wanting something different. And I wonder whether that something different will be either literally just like clips after the day or something,
or it'll be in the end is that the industry will have to change that people will start hiring people that aren't wedding photographers to get something different. They'll go, do you know what, I've seen this guy who's a live music photographer, I love the energy from, if you can bring that to my wedding, you'll have a job, or this and that. And in the end is that the industry at the moment, in some ways, I feel like Canva's too many people are inspired by people doing what they do. I know this harks back to the inspiration episode, is I think that people need to start looking outside of the box or looking at other areas of things. Like, even if you look at Instagram and TikTok, there is a wealth of creativity on there and people doing innovative things. And if people can bring an element of that to their weddings and stand out for the right reasons, they will have a long and healthy business doing this. Yeah, agreed. I actually watched something recently about how TikTok is focused on creativity and not repetitiveness. And that's their algorithm is built around the more creative you are, the more likely you are to get seen by as many people as possible. That is obviously indicative of where we're going. Basically, being creative and thinking outside the box is going to get you much further than it used to just making wedding films 100%. Or just putting a photo on Instagram. I agree. Good question, Sean. Amazing. Great question. Let's see who's next. I'm enjoying this. It's like some sort of game show where like this is your life or something, and the people that we know and sometimes we don't know just pop up with messages talking about us. I love this. It's good fun. Next one is from Phoebe. Oh yes. Who actually we know really well, came to our workshop. Yeah. And I believe she recorded this while she was on holiday as well. Did she? Oh, that's really nice of her. Making the extra effort. Long time listener. So really looking forward to listening to this.
Hi Chris and Tom. Massive congratulations to you both for reaching 50 episodes. It's amazing what you guys are doing. I've listened to every episode and I look forward to each one. What I love most about the podcast is how down to earth you guys are. How I feel like I'm listening to a friend that's giving me advice. A lot of wedding photography podcasts are all about like the high-end market and making six figures, and that just doesn't interest me. So thank you for talking about normal weddings and giving real advice that everyone can use. Keep up what you're doing. Oh. Again, that's awesome really message. Motivating, isn't it? I will say that I'd love to earn six figures. But I wouldn't say I'm not interested. With changing nothing of what I do. We say we're not interested in earning six figures. Again, like the relatability thing, like we want to keep it like that way. It's been like, we sit here, it's your dining room. We've debated getting a studio, but we quite like the fact that it's just like a little thing that you can sit opposite the table from us, and
Yeah, that's
definitely.
kind
And
of
again,
aim with
let's
it,
say
isn't it?
massive thanks to Phoebe. I know that she listened from very, really early on. She
Yeah.
was one of the first people to buy a ticket to our very first
To our
workshop,
yeah.
and is super loyal supporter. And it's people like her and all the other people that have sent messages, and just you guys that listen, that really help us to carry on doing this. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Who's next? I'm liking this game.
Very wholesomeness.
Yes.
I believe this is Dave.
Oh, Dave's April.
Dave's April, also a workshop attender as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's have a listen.
Wedding Capture Code podcast, what is up? I love listening to the pod.
Yeah.
Offers some absolutely wonderful insights. Question for you though, how much of yourself do you give to your couples? I don't mean physically, I mean more psychologically. How much do you share with them? How much do you let them into who you are as a person and not just a wedding supplier?
So, my answer to this, I've been thinking about this because I've actually heard these voice notes already, and my answer is it's much more than I used to. I used to approach it like a business, and the conversation used to be straight down to business. This is what I'll give you. This is what you've got, and that kind of thing. I give much more now on my Instagram stories. Try and be a bit more myself. Try and be a bit less business-like. On the calls, I'm really trying to dive into the couple's story and trying to get things that we have in common and things like that. And so we've spoken about it on the pod, so I won't go too far into it, but things have changed for me a lot in that now I gel with my couples a lot more because they know me much better. I'm more confident with it, and generally when they go into the day they know a bit more about me. But what I'd say is the but in that is that my personality is very much one that I think I'm someone who you need to get to know me before I really, really open up. Yeah. And that's not a choice. I don't go, oh yeah, I'm not going to talk to you about the X, Y, and Z until I know you properly. That's just the way I am, is that, for people that have only met me once might think that I'm relatively professional, quiet, that kind of thing. But the more people get to know me, the more I open up. And so that I do still think that with couples, I don't necessarily open up 100% with them. Unless it's been a particularly long process or someone I've already met before booking them in or something like that. Sometimes it's a little bit harder for me to bear all in my personality to a couple. So,
but I think that's hard. And out of all of the questions that came in, this is the one which I've probably thought about the most. Or this is the one that's kind of stuck with you when you're kind of thinking about things and go, that is a really good question. It's something which is really kind of, or it's made me think more internally about what I do.
Yeah.
Is that I wouldn't say that I share too much. I've ended up sharing more and more as time's gone on, and it has always been met really, really well and allowed me to have a deeper bond with my couples.
Yeah.
So I think, but I will say this, is that there are some things which some people think that I share a lot or I share everything, but I don't. And I think people will assume the rest if you don't.
Yeah.
So there has always got to be a boundary to go, this is what I'm comfortable sharing, share enough that your couples relate to you, that you can do the rest of it, but you do not have to give them everything.
Yeah.
And again, I think from the way that I am as a person, I do feel things quite deeply and ride those highs and lows. I'm quite an emotional person. You can tell what I'm thinking pretty much by looking at my face.
Yeah.
And that I do kind of go through those things with my couples and kind of experience the highs and the lows, and like to think that they feel safe, opening up to me, and I try and give kind of my anecdotes back so that they feel comfortable to do that.
Yeah.
But there are still some things that go, do you know what? No, that is real kind of private life stuff, and it doesn't go on there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that I get lots of people that come up to me that talk to me about Max a lot because I share a lot of Max. People assume that I only ever go to Disney World because that's all that I talk about. And again, so people do assume certain things if you show it enough.
Yeah.
And so there is a balance to be had. So I think definitely you give what you get. The more that you open up and allow yourself to be human to your couples, they will humanize with you back or share as much as kind of you do, but at the same time do not feel that you have to blur the line so much that you're uncomfortable with it.
I think that's a really good summary of it. Yeah.
Again, a great question, and I think it's one of those questions which kind of you just go about it and do what you feel feels right for you, because
it's hard to answer.
Everyone is different.
Yeah.
And my initial reaction was maybe sometimes I share too much. Okay. Or maybe sometimes I think I don't care too much and just go, oh, this. And go, someone that saw that for the first time maybe would think, fucking hell, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But then I also know that in times where things have gone wrong in my business, or I've needed a bit of time or a bit of space, or things have gone wrong, or, oh, do you know what, I need to take a break, I've been met with nothing but waves of kindness from past, present and future couples, which show that, you know what, just turning up and being yourself counts for a lot.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on how much the couple give me as well.
Yes,
so if I turn up to
huge,
the pre-wedding call, pre-booking call, like a consultation call, and I'm like, oh yeah, you've got like a dog in the background, like what's his name and all this, and there's like, yes, our dog, like Poppy or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's like, oh yeah, sorry, our cats might get involved. And it's just like, oh. Yeah. And it's kind of thing, well, but if they start going, oh, what are your cat's names? Oh yeah, we've got a cat. And then like, oh yeah, like we do this, and it kind of, you get into it, I feel much more comfortable than in opening up. So if I feel comfortable because you've asked me questions about, you know, and not like it's the couple's job to ask me questions, but you've actually made the effort to make conversation like I'm a human, I'm much more likely to open up about other things to them.
I totally agree with that. But I also think as well that there are always certain couples that want to do that more than others. But I feel like if I had all of my couples, like all the couples in one single year were like that, I would find it so much more. It would be lovely. Yeah. I would bond with them more, but it would take so much more of my time, be so much more emotionally draining being at their weddings. So sometimes it is nice to people that they know enough about me that we can get on, but they don't want to be my best friend. And then some people which are always in my DMs, which I love, and I never want those people that do want to be like that to stop. But I think to do that, if every couple was like that, don't think that you're doing something wrong in your branding or whatever if you're not getting couples like that, because some people just aren't like that, or some people don't want that, or they just want someone who's nice to turn up and film or photo their wedding. They don't want to have a best pal out of it, and some people really do want to jump both feet into the journey. You're still a supplier, and you're still someone that's kind of almost, they just want that someone to film their wedding. And I'm happy with both, or happy to have balance in both. If I had a whole year of everybody that was just kind of cordial to me, I might kind of take it as not my personality. But to get half a dozen of those couples every year, which are really kind of dialed in and really kind of take up that time, that's I think that's a real nice balance for me.
Agreed. Next one is, this is Sean from Truly Madly Films. It's our first voice note that we got as well.
She was super keen, wasn't she?
Hi Chris and Tom, I'm just sending you a voice note. My question is, why do you think there aren't as many female videographers as there are males? I recently got asked this question and I struggled to find the answer. I'd really love to know your thoughts, and I'd love to know, Tom, do you often work with female videographers? A lot of the times I go to weddings and the photographer always says they hardly ever work with females. So yeah, I'd love your thoughts and just start a discussion on why you think that might be.
Great question. It's a really good question.
Definitely.
And it's something that actually came up, didn't it, when we were at the summit?
Yeah, it did.
We spoke to a lady called Ashley, didn't we?
Yep.
And she was there, and she was saying that she felt that she was probably
one of only a few,
literally a handful of women in that room. And I feel that particularly, like Sean said, is that it only seems to happen in video.
Yeah.
Like there are very, very few, it seems to me anyway, there are very few female videographers. But at the moment...
But it was the case for photo before.
Yes. Yeah. The wave of photo has changed rapidly over, I think, the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
If anything, I would say now that I'm in the minority, I would say there are slightly more females doing this than there are males now.
Yeah. And look, like, as two lads sitting here, we're not going to claim to be experts in this, but I did write down a few things which I think do contribute to it. And the first thing is that I think a lot of people go into videography because they are introverts who like technology.
That was what my first instinct to say is that people that videographers are more, or get into it for the gear rather than the art to begin with, at least.
Yeah. Like, I liked cameras before I liked videography. Like I liked the technology of it and all that kind of stuff. And so probably one of the reasons that I'm in it, not the reason why I stay in it, but one of the reasons why I'm in it is because I'm like, oh, I can buy this camera and this gear's cool, and I really liked that part of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like most introvert tech people are probably men. If you look at like tech conferences and things like that.
Yeah, I never want to hate those like boys with their toys, like gender stereotypes, but unfortunately they do exist to a degree, and a lot of that kind of or in some ways people's gateways into industries. If it was I bought a drone because I want one, and then someone asked me to take some drone at their wedding, and then it was this is a thing. In the same way that people find other avenues into jobs, I feel that that's more of a thing maybe for a guy.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, when people think about videography, it's obviously a lot more technical. So there's a lot of that sort of tech and gadgets and stuff like that involved. So, there's people are very not into that and will just buy one camera, one lens, and they pretty much shoot with that the whole time. But equally, there's a lot of people in our industry, in fact, who they have to cage it up and put a handle on it and a monitor, and they're showing, this is my camera rig and things like that. And what you don't see a lot in photography, at least, well, I don't see a lot, maybe it's just because of the echo chamber of social media, is photographers going, oh, look at all the things I've added to my camera to make it even better. It's just, you don't see that. You see, this is what I'm capturing, like memory wise.
But at the same time, they do follow that soon. Like once like the hold fast like trend took on, like they went from being like a couple of people having them to now it's pretty much standard kit for you to carry 2 cameras and have a hold like a a dual like leather harness and stuff. And so there are those trends there, but much more. But then in the cutesy way, like, oh, I can have this other thing, my branding stamped in the back of it, rather than like I'm going to bolt all this stuff onto my camera
and make it look really professional and like, oh, look at all these gadgets I can buy for my camera to make it look better. And
it's just camera bags for us. That's I like 20 camera bags instead. Yeah.
Wedding Capture Co camera bag is coming soon.
Could you imagine?
I'd love it. And also, I mean, I don't know if I spoke about it in the last episode, but if you look at some of the Facebook groups, oh, my mouth is going. If you look at some of the Facebook groups that we have for videography, they can be very male heavy, and that can lead to a lot of dick swinging and a lot of mansplaining.
Yeah.
Even I've posted on groups over the years quite a bit, and just been met with response that you just think, what are you talking about? You know, it's like you're just asking, oh, does anybody know how to do this? And DaVinci as well. Why don't you go on YouTube? Why don't you know what I mean? Like, just like.
But even in part 1 of this, talking about the AI, the video editing, and just being told learn how to color grade, mate. Like,
And I recently scrolled through a group just to see if I could sort of prove my point in a way.
Yeah.
And there's on one group there was someone looking for tripods, and some of the comments were, what are you using a tripod for? Just use your light stand, or don't bother using tripods. This is 2025. Or do you know what I mean? It's like this person was not asking. They're asking for a nice recommendation for a tripod, and it's all men.
Yeah.
And that's why I just think, as a man being spoken to like that, I get fuming. But like, I think as a woman, I'd probably be even more pissed off that some man is mansplaining to me and being like that. But the groups are not. They're not like, this is very like, the groups are actually very helpful and very informative, and there's been a great community from the start.
Yeah.
But so you'll get people like this in every group, and I think with videography groups, it can be a bit like that. So
but I think as a whole, like, I would like to think that the videography will change in the same way that photography had changed. I think when I got in 2015, 2017, around that time, there probably were a lot more men. But there's been people that have made such a long way, and like, I'm going to shout out Lisa here, obviously, that I know most people know that I do a lot of my education with Photography Farm, and her to be a woman starting a conference, I know that attracts a massive female heavy audience, because they feel like it is a safe space to go and learn, and the rest of it, and the fact that it's female run, and maybe it will take some bigger names in the industry rising, going speaking at conferences, doing these things that are females, that it will encourage more people into the industry. The rise of hybrid, I think
if only there's a female that wanted an event down south, hey Becky.
But even like, I know that even we can even talk, but if we look at the numbers for the podcast, it's always been a male heavy audience, hasn't it? But having guests like Kirsty on and having Hannah on have brought more females to our listeners. And I think we only kind of feel as qualified to talk about certain stuff that we can as 2 white men running a podcast, but I hear stories from female colleagues and stuff, that the way that they are treated by guests at weddings, or by venue managers because they are women, and all of that stuff. And I think I would really like to get somebody on, although I think it could be quite a difficult or quite a hard episode to do. I think there are a lot of males that are oblivious that this stuff happens to these suppliers purely for the fact that they are women. I know that's kind of drifted away from what Sean is saying, but I think that at the moment, all the things that you've said with being tech-based is 100% the reason. But this hybrid wave that's riding, or photographers now that are finding interest in video, over the next 3 to 5 years, that balance of male to female shooting video will change massively. And
the industry is changing as well. When I started, and you're talking like the first year full time or whatever, it's 2017, and I was working with pretty much 100% male photographers. And now I pretty much work with 90% female photographers probably during the year, or mostly female photographers probably. I won't say 90%, but that's changed so much. And I think part of that is to do with, obviously, like you say, that there's more like female educators, influencers in industry and that kind of thing, and then you sort of find your people, right? And that can really help. But also venues have changed. like the first, you know, some of the female photographers I've worked with, I've spoken to, and some of the ways they get treated by venues, like they're their first shooter and they've hired a man who's a second shooter, but the coordinator would only talk to the man.
I've experienced that second shooting for females before.
But now a lot of the coordinators are female as it is. I think they've changed from like being a venue manager bloke to like they've hired a coordinator who's specifically for weddings, who is generally a female. So I think it's becoming easier to work with venues now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think maybe.
But also as well, and I think again that word keeps coming up, is that at the moment, funny enough, I'm set to shoot a wedding on Thursday with a male content creator.
Yeah.
But he is the first male content creator I've heard of. All of the people that have popped up in my kind of Instagram feed or in periphery or everything have been female content creators. And I would say that there is a much bigger ratio of female content creators at the moment than there is males. So that combined with the amount of female photographers, I think that, again, like we talked a minute ago, and where do we see the industry in 5 years' time? If those content creators leveling up to become videographers, some photographers doing both, I think that balance is going to get massively addressed in video.
It's going to be smushed. 100%.
Which is great. I think, again, that'll open up again for, you know, if you could get to a point where there could be a conference with a whole female video lineup, I think that would be huge for kind of for those people in the industry. Again, I have worked with female videographers. We had Tessa again come to the workshop, and she's making really great work. You know, Becky, Sean, like we could go on a list. They are out there. They are just few and far between at the moment.
In fact, obviously, that Bronte did a talk at Coda, and then we've got Becky Thompson doing a talk at the next Coda.
The Costa Sisters
Becky
as well.
Kinross is doing a talk at the next. The Costa Sisters also. So like it's definitely happening in the industry. It's just a slower process.
I'm ready for it. I'm really here for it. I think again across all of it, it should be equal. We should get treated the same, or we should get treated, you know, based on the work that we make. It should never to do with, you know, who we are, what we identify as, or the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to also finish that kind of this bit and say is that, again, we only feel as qualified to talk about our experiences as we can. But I would like to think that all of the women out there would like to think that this is not a space where any sort of like sexism or generalism or any of that is welcomed or thrives at all. Like we always try and listen to everybody. And exactly that. And I would like to think that we always try to are as sympathetic or understanding of those issues as we can be.
100%. Perfect
Stuff. Who's next?
Right, Tim Simmons Films is next.
This is one of my favourite questions. Vital question. This is.
Hi, Chris and Tom. This is Tim from Tim Simmons Films, and just wishing you big congratulations on your 50th pod episode. It's been invaluable for beginning videographers like myself, and it's always great to hear the dynamics of both a videographer and a photographer. Not dealing with photographers much, it's good to hear their opinions as well. Everything you cover has been really helpful, so the only burning question that I have is, what are your go-to flavours of meal deal from Tesco?
Yes.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, that may specifically mention Tesco as well. Yeah. But Tesco is the one we go to, so we feel qualified to talk about this one.
That's it. If you are a new listener to the pod, you will know, obviously, that so Chris comes to my house pretty much to do the pod. We record 2 episodes in a day, so in the middle there's a lovely lunch-sized gap which is filled courtesy of the Tesco's at the end of my road. So we walk down there, we do get a meal deal, and then sit over lunch and then come back to record the episode in the afternoon. And so we're going to answer this question now, but then when you hear the episode that we recorded with Adam next week, is we have 2 new questions which we are going to ask all of our guests going forward from this point. Yeah. And the last one is, what is their meal deal choice? Yeah. So I think it's nice that someone has asked this. So thank you, Tim. So we can kind of get our preferences in.
Yeah. So that then when we're asking our guests, you already know what ours are.
Also, how cool would it be if you turned up to a wedding this year?
Someone had the meal deal already.
And you've got one of those little gift bags that couples really like to do, to kind of keep you like going throughout the day. And your dream meal deal was in the bag. Yeah. Would you feel that you'd made
Maybe we clip this bit and put it on our Instagram and see if any of your couples.
When they ask for your dietary requirements, you go, well, it's actually a Tesco's meal deal. And it is,
Get a little rider going on.
It's a good then, Chris. What's your choice?
Okay, so we have the same sandwich, right? So yes. Our sandwich of choice, which is relatively new, I think. It's definitely since we started this podcast, is the cheese and chicken triple.
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah, cheese, chicken, and ham, something like that. It's like 3 different sandwiches, isn't it?
Yeah. We definitely know how to get the most bang for our buck, right? So essentially 3 sandwiches, different combinations of chicken and cheese and that kind of thing.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff, yeah. So that's my sandwich. On to crisps. Crisps was a difficult one for me, or a snack in general, right?
Yeah.
Slices of apple. No, I'm joking. Yeah, imagine.
Guess out.
So depending on what mood I'm in, it's either like the really crunchy, like Walker's Max paprika, that kind of like big crisp vibe. And yeah, if I'm feeling something a little bit lighter, then I'll go for the little Tony's chocolonely, like for a snack, just because I feel like that chocolate is like some of the best chocolate you can get.
Sometimes you just need a sugar hit, don't you, though, as well, to get that for that second episode. If you're kind of
but those crisps are a lot as well. Like they do fill you up. So just sometimes a nice bit of sugar is good for that. And then for a drink, generally I'll just go like Pepsi Max or something like that. Get a bottle of Pepsi Max Cherry. If I'm feeling something sugary, it'll be Dr Pepper. So.
It's odd because Chris normally comes to my house armed with at least one Monster or a Red Bull and the water as well.
But it's not normally my meal deal situation. If I get a meal deal, it's not a Monster. Monster's generally for.
But if you were getting bang for your buck, like 3 sandwiches and a Monster, you'd be you're taking coin there. Tesco's has gone out of business after 2 years. We've been doing that.
100%.
So in similar, my sandwich is that same that chicken cheese triple thing, and then again like my crisps are either the mini pot of Pringles.
Yeah.
Or Cool Original Doritos are the only 2 options in crisps.
Okay.
And then I feel like since we've been doing the pod, I've worked my way through most of the weird flavours of Pepsi and Coke that have come out. Like if there's a new one that I feel like a meal deal is a safe place to try it. So I've worked my way through cinnamon Coke, lemon Coke, strawberries and cream Pepsi. There was the mango Pepsi Max for a while.
Yeah.
So normally it's one of those things. Or if you've listened to the podcast for a long time, you'll know that sometimes if you can tell it's an afternoon episode because I've drunk too much fizzy in one go and I'm trying not to burp through the second episode. So recently I've switched over to getting a Lipton's iced tea and something flat and not gassy. Does normally mean that I'm feeling better for the second episode.
Yeah, so drink's a little bit flexible. But that's our meal deal, nailed in.
That's it, and that is the choice. So again, this is the real burning question that I want the next level of feedback for is that. So I want to know what everybody else's meal deal choices are.
And we'll revisit it in a year and see if we're eating different things. Because I just had a cracking chicken and burger sauce. Limited edition one from Tesco.
Oh, it's limited though. So
I think it was limited.
Is it going to stick around? That's the question.
It tastes like Big Mac sauce with chicken and a sandwich. Oh,
what a winner!
Cracking. It's so good.
See, what can't you get in Tesco's meal deal? That's the question, isn't it? Is it what covers all bases?
So that's the burning questions we'll be asking our guests at some point down the line.
And I think we have one last voice note, don't we?
One last voice note from Katie from Clearly Wild Photography.
I just wanted to say how incredibly proud I am of you both. I know how much heart and time and thought and kindness you put into creating every single episode and trying to deliver what you think people want and being open-minded and hearing each other and hearing your audience is so important. So well done. Congratulations on reaching 50 episodes. Sorry, that was a baby sneezing in the background. Just a huge congratulations. Well done to you both.
Oh, that's very nice.
Oh, we love
that message.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably worth noting at this point to say that we spoke about in the past in other episodes that I also run a networking space and stuff, or kind of meetings with Katie. We run the Wedding Coactive together, although we haven't done too much with it yet because, as you heard, the baby sneezing, she recently became a mother. And I think probably without the Coactive, that was probably a big catalyst in us getting this podcast off the ground in the first place. I think we probably wouldn't have hung out as much or had those initial meetings for us to decide that the podcast, or you to decide that I would be a good fit to do a podcast with if you hadn't come to those Coactive meetings. So
definitely, and that whole concept is great, is the fact that you've got people like down here all meeting up for once a month for coffee mornings and things like that. And it's community that we needed. And also it's now not just for photographers and videographers, right? So I've met plenty of other suppliers through the Coactive as well, become good friends with them, and now I know more people outside of our industry. And like we do when we sit here and talk about how our jobs are different. It's also really nice to hear, like when we used to go to these coffee mornings and chat to like a florist who's been working and what they like and dislike.
Or hair and makeup. I feel like that's another real friction point for photographers and videographers in the morning, was when you get those hair and makeups that kind of bring out their little light and their camera of like 10 minutes before the ceremony. But we've had a couple of kind of hair and makeup come along to the Coactive and again just start to broach those conversations in that space and stuff. And it's just really nice that now that they've moved to kind of a more informal place of, we're in a coffee shop on this day, come hang out for a little while, that it has allowed a lot of kind of partnerships to form, or people have found second shooters through those groups, or again just people have turned up that are on the very, very beginnings of their journey. Dave, who gave us the message earlier, he turned up to one of those and came and chatted to me and Katie and some people there, and then obviously found the podcast through that. So they are really worthwhile, and obviously doing that with Katie, I've heard a lot of lessons in that, which I think kind of in terms of collaboration and working with somebody else to put something on. And I like to think that I brought some of those skills to this when we started doing the pod.
Yeah.
And also as well, I know that obviously Katie at the moment is trying to navigate maternity leave whilst running a wedding business and stuff like that. And that's something that she said that she would be happy to come and talk about. And I think that would be a really interesting episode in itself.
Yeah,
in that, again, like
yeah.
I said, for us as kind of two white dudes that I hope, you know, and would never have to navigate that.
But what she tells us is shocking. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, wait, you don't like the maternity stuff. It just blew my mind. So yeah.
So I think that would be a really fun or a very, very different episode to do. And so Katie said that's something we're going to try and sort out in the meantime is to kind of, just the highs and lows of trying to navigate, you know, I really need to keep this business, which is my first baby afloat, but now I've physically given birth and I need to or want to give my time to this baby, but how do I keep both going?
Yep.
Particularly when we're planning work so far in the future, but can I even answer the emails because I'm technically on mat leave and all of that. So you'll be hearing more of Katie from doing that. And thank you for such a kind message.
Lovely. Yeah, we'll definitely get that on soon.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That'd be good, yeah. So we had one more message as well, which wasn't a voice note. So I'm going to read some of this out. So this is from a lovely lady called Emily who came to one of our workshops as well, didn't she?
Yeah.
And so she came along. She was actually our competition winner, wasn't she? So when we did the
won
giveaway
ticket,
for the second workshop, she did that. So I'm going to read some of this. It says, "Hi Tom and Chris, massive congratulations on reaching the big 5-0 with the pod. Very exciting for you guys. I started following Tom on Insta and then won your competition to come to your branding workshop in November. That workshop was amazing for me as I'm really new to weddings and it really opened my eyes to loads of aspects of branding and website design, plus gave me a huge confident boost and a little network of people to ask so many questions to, which is great because that was exactly what we set out.
Yeah, we created a little Instagram group for the people in the workshop, didn't we? And we've had a few questions in there and a few little bits of back and forth.
Which has been really nice to kind of have that following through, seeing them kind of make the changes that they've had. So then she says, in terms of the pod, I have listened to a fair few episodes now, and following a tip from one of my fellow photographers on the workshop, in November I went back to one on pricing, which had a big impact on my thinking and gave me the boost and rationale I needed to take a step up in my rates. Which is amazing. Again,
that is really nice to hear.
Yeah,
that's an actual actionable that someone's gone, I listened to your podcast, I did this, and it's helped me.
And giving them confidence enough to actually charge their worth. That's amazing.
Wow.
She continues to say, it's very much a journey for sure, but you guys have made me feel like I have a bit of a team, which is great in an industry where everyone is usually working solo, so I totally love that.
Yeah.
If I could ask one pod topic for the future, is I'd love you guys to do one on cameras you take on holiday and talk about the kit.
Yes, my favourite topic.
I want a tiny camera for travelling, and I know that you have a Leica, Tom, and I think you had a Fuji before, Chris? But I'm not sure what you're on now. I'd love you to go into the pros and cons of the various little cameras and what you have liked or missed to help me spend another £1,000+ on a camera. Thank you so much for all the support and encouragement and keep up the great work.
Yeah. So that's just on the topic. That is something that I'd said to you before we just recorded this. Like, can we please do an episode just on holiday cameras? Because a lot of people came up to me at the summit, and various like other like Coda and things like that, and have said like, I love that you like guys talk about holiday and like how to capture your memories and stuff like that. Like it really resonates with me. So on top of like the wedding-y bits, like I feel like people kind of know us for the holiday bits, which is kind of
nice. It's really funny as well, because I will get into it when we do that episode, because that is a must. That episode will happen. Is that I particularly don't really have like gas when it comes to wedding kit. Like I like to get my kit, it works for me, and I roll it out and I use it till its death.
It's a tool,
But when it comes to like holiday cameras or like personal use cameras, that's where I get the lust creeps in. And like obviously I've been using the Leica Q now for almost 2 years. But like then the Q3 came out, like I was like, oh, I could buy that. That's definitely on the list.
Yeah.
And then like I saw someone using the Ricoh GR and was like, oh, that's really interesting because it's tiny. And then obviously, and then the new Fuji medium format dropped. Now I'm like, scrap those. I want to buy that. So I felt there's a lot of stuff happened in that space since we've had those conversations. And as much as again we are a wedding podcast, hopefully the people that listen do just generally like cameras and stuff in general. And so that'll be a really fun episode, I think, to have.
It will, and hopefully I will have had a holiday by then as well, because I haven't. Okay, this is not necessarily relatable, but I haven't had a holiday in 6 months. It's probably the longest it's been. It's been a long time. Mate. You're right. I'm getting a shake. But yeah, that's definitely something we'll cover. But yeah, I really, really appreciate the message. Like, thank you so much for coming along to the workshop. I'm glad you took something from it and from the podcast as well. Like, again, like we get messages saying we listen and everything like that, but to see someone actually like put something in action and it's worked out for them and that kind of thing, it's great. So we've lost the camera.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cancel simultaneous recording due to a lack of space on the memory card.
Oh, we've run out of. We spoke to Adam Wing for so long that our memory cards run out of space.
My one's about to go as well. Your one's holding its own at the moment. So unless you want a solo shot of Chris, I guess we should wrap this up.
Should
pretty
round it up.
soon, yeah. So again, I think in listening to both parts of this one's gone on longer than we thought it would. The last one went on way longer than we thought it would, which is why we did this one in the first place. But yeah, there we are. That's our first 50 episodes in the bag. What we've grown from that first recording to here we are now, we could not be more grateful or thankful for. And yeah, on to the next one.
Yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Obviously, continue to drop us messages if you have questions or you want us to do specific topics. We really, really appreciate, as we've tried to show here, we appreciate that back and forth. This isn't just about me and Tom. This is about all of us. And so, yeah, let's make it a great community as well.
Definitely, 100%.
So I'm going to take the party hat off now
right.
for another 50 episodes.
Put it back in the cupboard.
Yeah, ready for 100, and hopefully 100 will be coming in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, amazing.
So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you in the next one. We've not got any more seamless.
I've done that 50 times.
We still haven't, bro. So there we go. We're done. And that's just stopped.
It's had enough.